Hi everybody, and thanks for tuning into this video for Comms 101. In this video, I'm going to share with you a few advanced features in Microsoft Word, including how Microsoft Word can help you to make a table of contents page and how Microsoft Word can help you to make a works cited page. There are three documents you're going to notice in your Comms 101 assignment. We're going to open all three of those right now and take a look at what they show. This WP2 PDF document is going to give you the instructions for the assignment that you need to follow. Those instructions are located at the top of the page. At the bottom of this page are all of the bibliographic entries that need to be in your works cited page. So you need to make sure that all of these appear at the end of the document for today. Now, a couple of these have already been entered for you into Microsoft Word, but you will need to do a lot of typing to enter the rest. You are able, though, to copy and paste some things from this PDF into Microsoft Word. Let's take a look at the other two documents. I'm going to open the Works Cited help sheet at the top here. This Works Cited help sheet actually shows you what your Works Cited page needs to look like in the end. This is what your final product must be at the very end of the document for your assignment for today. Notice the line spacing is double spaced. Notice that there's some things that are italicized, some things that have commas and periods and semicolons. Make sure you look at how this is formatted and the exact way that the text appears. Now, here's something I'm going to share with you right away. You are going to be entering information into Microsoft Word and having it generate a works cited page for you. The works cited page is not going to come out looking like this. You're going to have to do a lot of custom editing of what Microsoft Word spits out to make it look like this. You're going to have to add punctuation. You're going to have to italicize things. You're going to have to remove some faulty punctuation that Microsoft Word creates to make things look correct. Be ready for that. If you expect that Microsoft Word is going to give you an end product that already looks like this, you're mistaken. The other thing that is in the Comms 101 assignments is the actual document in Microsoft Word that you are going to be editing to create the table of contents page and the works cited page. So I'm just going to open that document up and we'll take a look at what the Microsoft Word version of this is. Remember, when you open it, oftentimes you will have to enable editing because it opens it in protected view. So I'm going to click Enable Editing at the top, and then it should let me in to make changes to this document. Now, in the instructions, the easiest thing to do is actually one of the last instructions to make a heading in front of the last paragraph in the document, and you're going to type the word conclusion as that heading. Okay, now, this heading doesn't look anything like the other headings in the document right now. The font is wrong, it's in Times New Roman, the font is wrong. So if I look at another heading in the document, I notice that it's bold, it's all the way left justified, it's not tabbed in at all. And it's a different font. It's an Arial font, size 13. I could just manipulate the font of conclusion to make it Arial size 13, and I could left justify it so it's not indented at all. But I actually don't want to do that. Instead, what I want to do is use this heading tool. Notice I'm in the Home tab, and on the ribbon over here, you'll see all of these custom fonts for different things. I'm going to use the custom font heading number 3 for conclusion. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to change the aspects of that title to make it a heading. Microsoft Word also marks it as a heading, so when I make my table of contents page, conclusion is going to show up on my table of contents page as one of the main sections of this document. It will automatically show up exactly where it needs to be. So that's the first thing we were going to do, is just make conclusion a heading. By the way, if you ever want to change the way a heading looks, and I totally would if I were reformatting this document, because I never put more than one font type in the same document. It just doesn't look good to me. To change the way that heading displays, you could right-click it, then click Modify, And you can change the properties of the heading, including the font type, font size, whether it's bold, italics, underlined, whatever you want, you can change the way that that heading displays. I'm not actually going to change anything, and for your assignment, you don't have to. You shouldn't, but I just wanted to show you that you could do that. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to put page numbers on every page, because that's something you want if you have a table of contents page. So to do that, we're going to insert, and you see that there's actually an option to insert page numbers. You're going to click on that. Our page numbers are going to go at the bottom of the page, and in a second it's going to display what that will look like. We're going to choose the page numbers that display in the center of the bottom. I just want to show you a couple of other things while we're doing this. Notice that a custom design tool for header and footers comes up at the top of the page, and there's all sorts of options that you could use just to format header and footers. Notice that you have an option to put a different first page. If you click on that, then on your title page, the very first page of your document, it's not going to display a page number, which is exactly what you would want. Other options up here are you can change things in the header of the page. That's the area above the main text of the page, or the footer. Different professors will have you do different things with the headers and footers of documents depending on the courses that you're taking. Like, for example, in psychology courses, sometimes you're required to put what's called a running header at the top of the page that displays title information on every single page of the document. Some professors are really finicky about that because they want you to learn how to format professional documents correctly. You maybe will use headers and footers sometimes, and just know that when you insert page numbers, you're inserting them into the header and the footer. If you ever want to just add a header and a footer without a page number, you just go to Insert, and right next to page numbers where you can work with the header or the footer of the page. And then the other thing that I wanted to show you is when you are working with the page number in the header and the footer, you can actually just go back to the Home tab, and you can change anything you want about the formatting of text or page numbers in the header and footer just by changing the font type using these options here. Okay, we're not going to change anything about the header and the footer though. I'm going to go back to the beginning of my paper, and the next thing we're going to do is insert a table of contents. But we're not going to do that on the Insert tab. We're actually going to use the References tab to do that. Notice you go to References, and then way over on the left is where you have an option to put a table of contents in. We're going to use Automatic Table 1, and for this document, I don't care what your table of contents looks like as long as it's a separate page at the beginning of the document. Now, I want you to notice what happened. Notice that my table of contents didn't insert at the beginning of my document. It inserted way at the end, right by my conclusion that I typed, because I didn't actually move the cursor to the beginning of the document. I'm going to undo that by pressing Control-Z. Then I'm going to scroll up to the top of my document, and this time I'm going to put the cursor at the very beginning, right before any text. Now when I go to Table of Contents and I click on the one that I want to insert, it actually does insert at the top of the page. One thing I need to do, I need to make sure that my paper actually starts on its own page. The table of contents needs to be a separate page before the first page. So what I do to do that, I need to insert what's called a page break so that everything below my table of contents appears on the next page. That's actually in the Insert tab, and then you'll see the option to insert a page break. You could also hold down Control and press Enter. That will insert a page break as well. But there we go. Now my table of contents is on its own page, but wait a second. Let's take a look. It's on page 1, and now my paper starts on page 2. Notice the introduction is on page 2, but right here it says that my introduction is on page 1. It also lists my title of the paper as one of the sections of the paper. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete that title because it doesn't have to be there. It's not actually one of the sections of my paper. Notice I could just backspace it out just like you would do with any text anywhere in your paper. Okay, and then the other thing that I'm going to do, I need to make my page numbers correct for the rest of my paper. So see this option when I hover over this to update the table? If you change the pages in your paper, you can go back up to the top, click Update Table, and then I'm going to update my page numbers. Notice it changes the page numbers, so now things are on the correct pages in my document. That happened, remember, because I inserted a page break, and because I changed the pages when I inserted a page break, all of the headings change which page that they were on. When you write papers in college, you're probably going to have to do a lot of editing of those papers, and your headings are going to move around as you edit your papers. Just know you can always update your table of contents to match the new pages. All right, the last thing you're going to need to be able to do is to create a works cited page for this document at the very end. So I'm going to scroll to the end of my document, and we're going to say that the works cited page needs to be its own page at the very end. So I'm going to create a new line underneath the text. I'm going to go back to the References tab, and right now I need to insert all of the sources from that document, that PDF that I had that gives me the instructions, the WP2. I need to take all of these sources and insert them into a works cited page. So here's the way I'm going to do that. I'm going to shrink this screen so it's half of my screen. And I'm going to take my Microsoft Word screen and I'm going to shrink it so it's also taking up about half the screen. Now I can see both. I'm going to manage my sources by clicking this button right here. And that will allow me to add additional references into this Microsoft Word document. So here at the top, I see that I can sort the references that I'm looking at. I can search through my references for this paper. There are actually only 2 references that have been entered so far. Both of those are in the works cited entries that I need to include. The Allen RL one, and then William Drown and Solomon Drown. So I don't actually need to retype this one or this one. But I do need Gladys Baker and Clarence Stanhoff. I need all of the other ones. To add those, I'm actually going to go to New to create a new source. I'm going to select a type of source. Notice that I have this long list of types of sources that I could select from. When you are doing your own research for a paper, you're probably going to have a much better idea of the type of source everything is. For this, I'm just going to select book for every one because it's easy to enter the information. And if I'm wrong, I can just edit it at the end and make it look like it does on the Works Cited Help page, like it's supposed to be formatted. So first thing I need to do is enter an author. Notice at the bottom it gives me an example of what that should look like. It should be the last name of the author, comma, and then the first name, Gladys L. Okay, and then I'm supposed to use semicolons between authors. I'm going to put a semicolon because there's another one, Wayne D. Rasmussen. I'm going to enter as I look, it says last name and then first name, so I'm going to Rasmussen, Wayne D. Weiser, semicolon, not just a comma, Weiser, Vivian. And then lastly is Porter, Jane M. Now, even though I didn't enter it so it looks exactly like it does on the bibliography, I entered it like Microsoft Word wants me to enter that reference. And because I did it that way, now Microsoft Word knows what those authors are. It knows how to deal with them. For the title, I'm going to type the title of the work. It was called Century of Service, the First 100 Years. I'm going to actually copy that title here in the document and then simply paste it on over to the Microsoft Word title here, so I don't have to retype the whole thing. It's going to give me a little grief because it's on 2 lines in a PDF, so I'm going to have to copy the second line individually here and paste that in. And then I know I need the year here, 1996. I don't see a place where I would put federal government in here. You could try a different, like maybe you want to put it as a publisher. If you click this little checkbox to show all bibliography fields, It'll show everything that you could enter into your bibliography if you want it there. I don't see a place where I could put in federal government that I know it's going to display, so I'm just going to leave that out for now, and I will enter that later on as just an extra addition to make it look like it needs to look. I'm going to click OK, and now notice that it appears in my works cited list. You need to enter all of these works cited references into that list using that same method. I'm going to close this and I'm going to show you how to now create your actual works cited page. To create the works cited page, the last step that you need to do is go to this bibliography drop down here and select that you want to insert a works cited page into your document. When you click that, it's going to make a works cited page that has all of the works cited that you entered into the list. Now again, we need that to be on its own page, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to insert a page break. I notice that I have an extra space up here, so I'm going to delete that extra space. And now notice that you can click a drop down and drop down your works cited. What you want to do in here is make it look exactly like the works cited page, the help sheet, that PDF that I shared with you. It needs to look exactly like this. So you're going to need to do a lot of formatting on this. For instance, you're going to need to go to the Home tab, and you're going to need to select this heading, and you want it centered by clicking the center justification here. Your entire works cited page needs to be double space, so you're going to click the line spacing tool and you're going to click 2 to double space the entire thing right there. And you're going to need to make a lot of other adjustments to the text to make it look like the works cited page sample. For example, remember in this Gladys Baker text, you need to put in near the end in brackets federal government. Also notice that there's going to be some weird things that show up that shouldn't be there. Like right here, for some reason, there's these Russian characters. You need to make sure that you delete those and enter all of the names that need to be on this document. I'm not exactly sure why that comes up in here, but you'll notice it comes up frequently and you need to go back and change a few things. Be ready, always. Anytime you enter works cited information in Microsoft Word, it's quirky. There is no perfect way of creating a works cited page from a template like that. You need to be ready to go back in, change things, adjust things, and make it look like the works cited page is supposed to look. And that goes for any class that you take at Bethany. You will probably need to go back to your works cited page for papers that you write and make it look like the professor wants it to look. That's everything that you needed to be shown about this. Just so you know, you don't have to do any work with in-text citations. You'll notice throughout the paper that every once in a while there's places where authors are cited. You'll notice that there are also not the authors that are on the works cited page you're generating. That's fine. Don't worry about that. When you type papers for professors at Bethany, a lot of times you will have to put in-text citations in where you list the author's name and the year or the page number of that work. For this assignment, you do not have to worry about anything regarding that. Also, you don't have to worry about going back through and proofing the paper. You'll notice that there's some places where there are extra spaces and things aren't lined up right. Don't worry about the body of the paper. You just need to do the table of contents, the works cited page. Make sure that all of those works cited documents are in there and that they are all formatted correctly. Also make sure that there's page numbers on every page. That's important for this as well.